Alright folks, we're back with another R129 LED taillight tutorial. Today we're going to cover every single step along the way and show how to install these things. So what we have here is a set that I've done one. I still need to do this one. And this is an earlier style, I believe from 90 to 95. You can see it has gray plastic. It also has, the corner itself is orange, whereas these ones, it's an orange insert. If you're anywhere in Europe, or I think anywhere outside the US, then your country requires you to have orange turn signals. So it might be easier for you to use this style with the gray plastic. This one, if you order our LEDs with orange turn signals, it will not fit if you don't remove this. Once you remove that, you may have to paint the lens orange to comply with your local laws. You can use a product called Van's Lens Orange. It's a product made in Japan. It's essentially the same thing as this, just orange instead of red. We use this on these ones for American customers that want the all red lens. You can still have orange turn signals. They'll still light up orange through the red lens, but just kind of creates a cleaner look. That's what's on our black SL, if you've seen that car. So yeah, let's kind of discuss some of the tools that we use here. First of all, Dremel tool. I think it's a base model, nothing fancy. We use a small pointed bit. This one's pretty messed up. I'll provide all the links for all the tools and everything we use in the description, so you can see exactly what you're using. I think I got this bit out of a WEN Rotary Tool Kit. It's WEN. I didn't need anything else from the kit, but that bit proved to be the best one to work with. So, yeah, let's talk about how to do this. First of all, you'll have to remove this, obviously, and this. Once you get all that stuff out, you also need to make the cuts into the channel so that the LEDs actually have room to drop inside. That'll provide a much cleaner look in the end, a much more defined look between the lines. And then you'll also want to, we don't reuse this plastic part in the middle. If you do, it's a little too diffused and the LEDs won't really shine through. What we like to use is Rustoleum frosted glass. I'll show you how to use this later. Tape it off, spray a few coats. You can't really go wrong with that. It tends to work pretty well. But yeah, let's start making some cuts. All right, now before we get started, we'll say I do recommend wearing some sort of safety glasses and doing this outside. You wouldn't want to do this inside. It's definitely going to make a mess. So safety glasses, maybe even a mask, just to help with some of the fumes, because there's going to be some fumes coming off this. You're going to melt some plastic. You're going to cut plastic. It's going to be a mess. So it's going to be noisy. So take precautions. I tend to start over here. It doesn't really matter. You can start on either side, but yeah, I'll just show you how I do it. Now, when the bit gets like this, I tend to just grab some pliers, crank it on, and try to get it down. Kind of like that. Clean it up a little bit. This is actually the same bit that I've used on every set that I've done, so it's lasted quite a while. Another thing, keep in mind, all these little plastic chips, you want to make sure you blow those away, get them out of the way so that your lens isn't just scratching around on that while you're working on it, or else you're going to end up with a pretty scratched lens. When you're doing these, make sure you want to get all the way through the plastic on both sides, and you'll be able to snap it off. I'll show you. Haven't quite gotten all the way through the red plastic here, so again, just make sure you're getting all the way through it before you start trying to get it out of there. Okay, I think I've gotten through all the plastic on both sides. Maybe not all the way on that side. Something also to watch out for is as you're doing this, like I said, you're going to melt some plastic. So sometimes as you're cutting, you're still melting it back together behind you. So you'll want to come back through, kind of move quickly, and just kind of break up all that, any of that stuff that has remelted behind you. Let's see if we can get this out. Voila, just like that. Again, you'll have to come back and clean all this up, make the cuts into the channels, but let's move on to the reverse section. Cuts in the reverse section here. I just wanted to cover one little step before I go much further. One side of this is going to have tabs that go down. In this version it was red. If you have one of the gray plastic versions, it's going to be gray plastics. But these little tabs kind of fit down in here. What I like to do is just go in here with a little flathead, pop these out. These little things pop out pretty easily. That'll make your life a little easier. So I still got this one over here. Just go ahead and break that out of there. Another thing, I used to try to get this whole thing out as one piece, but I have since discovered that that's a little too risky, and since we're not going to be reusing the clear plastic part, it's best to just cut it up into 3 separate pieces and then work each of them out individually. So what I've done, I've cut along here, I've cut along here, here, and then here on the bottom or top. Make sure, again, you see some of this kind of melted back together. I don't suggest using a flathead and prying because that's how you're going to break stuff. Just make sure, come back with your Dremel, and make sure there's clear openings between everything that you're trying to get apart. Yeah. If you try to rush through this, you're going to break stuff. So just take your time, plan all your cuts, and you'll have a lot better results. Okay, once you're certain that you have each of these cuts, all 3 of these pieces completely separated from one another, this separate from this separate from these 2, and this from this bottom side, definitely want to make sure down beneath these screw mounting posts, you want to get down inside of there, make sure that everything is separated. Then you want to come through. It's just like a small, I like to use a small flathead because then it kind of limits the amount of force that I can use. If you use too much force, again, you're going to crack the outside lens. There is glue from the factory underneath all of this and underneath all of this. It seems to depend on whoever was making the taillights on that day or how much glue they are using in the factory. It can be pretty easy or it can be extremely difficult. So again, just take your time and just try to kind of work these things up and out. So here I got the first one out, the middle one. That seems to be the easiest one to get out first because you can use these other ones to pry against. You don't want to ever pry against the outer lens or pry against this part because it tends to break pretty easily as well. As you can see with the red left over, there was glue all the way around here, but we were able to get this all out. So again, just keep working them, work it slowly, and they'll all come out. Okay, well, these two outer ones are not really wanting to separate from the clear plastic, but what they've done, it all wants to come out as one piece. You can see there's a gap underneath that. So now, if that happens, what I like to do, hold it up like that. And you can do this on any of them. I've done it on the top one, the bottom one. This time we're going to do it in the middle. But hold it up in the air like that. You're going to use your Dremel to now separate this part. I got a bee trying to check it out too. Anyway, yeah, you just cut a line right through here, separate these two, and then you'll be able to pull them out a little easier. Okay, so now that I made a cut right in the middle, and when you're doing that, make sure, I say hold it up. You don't want the Dremel bit to drop down and touch the clear part. But yeah, once you separate those two pieces, then this will just come out, and this should also just come out, just like that. No damage. Again, don't start prying super hard, and just work it slow, and you'll get them out nice and clean. Okay, once you get all that out, you can start working on making the depth into the channels. What I like to do there, you'll notice as you're doing this that all the gunk that builds up on your bit here kind of ends up on the backside, and you don't want that whipping around and scratching these clear portions. So I like to do it from this side, and then when I go over here, hit it from that side. That just helps keep all the stuff out of the clear and makes it cleaner in the end. Again, make sure you clean this all off. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough so you don't damage anything. Alright, I made most of the kind of U-cuts into the channels here. Still a little messy. What you're going to notice is you're going to get some buildup, some of this plastic here. Just use a little flathead, knock most of that out. Clean it all up. You'll come back with a kind of a small sanding drum in the end and get it all out. Just be careful you're not pushing into the outer lens, and definitely don't want to scratch any of this clear stuff. Facelift customers actually don't even have to worry about cutting these channels because the lens itself is pretty flat in comparison to these. The only thing that they have to worry about is getting the insert out. The problem with leaving the insert in either style is it's the same kind of concept with here, is it's just a little too diffused for the LED to shine through, and it just won't look as defined as this portion. So I think it's always best to remove this regardless of which style you use, and then either come up on the outside with the red VHT or use the Vans lens orange that I mentioned earlier. Again, the link is going to be in the bio or in the description. We get it on eBay. I'm sure it's available in other countries on eBay as well. So at this point in the process, I think we're done with the actual cutting. You can switch to a smaller sanding drum. That'll help to get in here and clean up these channels a little more, get up all the leftover glue stuff, and help to get this insert out. So what I like to do for the insert is just grab a pair of needle nose first, and you can break these little orange tabs off. That'll give you a little more room to work with. These aren't really held in by anything other than the plastic that was there. They do have a top and a bottom. This one's got some excess glue. Some sloppy work from the factory. Have to clean that up a little bit. I tend to break that here and break that there, but you don't necessarily have to. If you can buzz these down enough, then the whole thing will just slide right out. It just takes a lot of careful sanding around these areas, and you'll get it out. You'll notice that your drum is going to get a little beat up here, so you'll want some extras on hand. You'll be going through them pretty quick. One thing I like to do when they get beat up like this, you can just flip it around. You can get it. Just to get the most out of your sanding drums so you're not spending so much money on them. Just flip it around and keep going. Another thing you want to make sure you do is sand away the bottom portions of these screw mounting posts and everything along here. You want to make sure you keep these tabs. That's what we use to actually, if you want to use a screw to actually mount the LEDs, we're going to drill a hole through here and a hole through the top here. And then you can fit a screw right through the LED tray. You'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, get your sanding drum. Go along there. It's just making the most room possible so that you have more room to fit the trays in the end. All right, got the orange insert out. This one was a huge pain in the ass. I did have to end up breaking both of the sides here. I tried not to. What you're going to want to do is cut as much into these, try to make as much clearance as possible in these channels here. You'll need to do this either way, but I was really trying to get it out without breaking it, but man, this one was super tight. So this part broke, but the lens itself is unharmed, which is really all we care about. So from here, I already did most of the cleanup. You just want to clean up all these channels, buzz these down a little bit. That way, again, you just want to make sure the trays can fit all the way in. These little things, probably buzz those down. And just clean it up as much as possible and get it ready for paint. Once you're done with that, blow it all out with an air compressor or just a can of compressed air if you don't have a compressor. And then we'll mask them up and get them painted. Now when I say to clean these up as much as possible, you'll notice that after you sand all that stuff, there's going to be a lot of leftover little white stuff, I guess, from the plastic after it melts. Just come through with like a flathead. Carefully get some of that off of there. All that you really care about is where the LEDs are going to lay. So you try to get these where the channels are. You try to get that as clear as possible. That way there's no lines or imperfections in the LED. It's just a solid beam all the way across. This is how I recommend installing them. I typically slide the flat end first. This is where it's helpful to have a lot of clearance at the bottom of these mounting screws. Just some all around. Slide the flat end first. And as you're putting it in, kind of bend it around here and make sure you bend it around this mounting screw particularly. You don't want to damage the face of the LEDs. Again, up here, just kind of be careful. Once you get it past a certain point, just kind of pop right in. And then just kind of, all I do is make a couple little dots there on each side. Pull them back out, drill a couple little holes, and use the provided screws to just screw in from the outside and hold the trays in place. When you drill these holes, do it slightly oversized. I do it just a little bit smaller than the head of these screws. That just allows for a little bit of adjustability once you get it in there. To make sure you get your reverse bars nice and straight, everything's straight and centered. All right, we're getting ready to paint the frosted glass onto the clear sections of the reverse. We're also not only going to get this portion, but also the red in between. What I like to do, you can see where the blue tape is, but I also like to stuff a little bit of paper towel underneath there so that none of the paint gets in underneath the blue tape. All right, our frosted glass has dried up on the lenses. You can kind of see now, when it's still wet, it's going to look clear just like it normally does without it. But once it dries up, it's going to be nice and clouded like that, a little frosted. versus this is a lens I haven't done that to. You can see right through it. The problem with that is once the LEDs are in there, they're just plainly visible. It doesn't look as clean in the end. So having the frosted glass just gives it a more professional look. All right, getting ready to spray the red VHT Nite-Shades on the corner here. Just make sure you mask off everything that you don't want to get red, and do some surface prep, use some IPA, whatever you need to do to make sure the surface is clean before you spray it. All right guys, while we let the lenses dry just a little bit, we can start working on the wiring. What I have here is an example from a US set and a European set. So if you're in the US, you're gonna have this green wire here. If you're anywhere else in the world, you're not gonna have a green wire. I'll show you how to handle that in just a moment. So first thing you gotta do, you gotta get that connector out of there. Seems to be the easiest way to do that is to remove this metal tray. You can do that by pinching these black tabs in the middle as you lift up on it. That frees that from there. It gives you a little more space to pull this connector out. And I just use a big flathead, get underneath here, and kind of pull it out. There's a tab right there, and that's what you got to get the connector over. So just kind of tilt it, pull it out, and now you want to clip these wires with as much length as possible. So go ahead and clip your brown wire, that's your ground wire. You can set that aside. Clip your green wire as long as you can. And straighten these out. Just kind of cut the other ones to about the same length. Perfect. Set that aside. Now, it's going to be the same story, same procedure to get this connector out for the Euro sets or anywhere else in the world. The big difference is that there's not even a green wire would go here. As you can see, there's nothing there. So it seems the US is the only one that actually has a bulb right here in the side corner lens. It's the same story with this. Cut your ground as long as you can. Get under there and pry the connector out. There's always tape on the ground wire, the brown wire. You don't need to keep the tape. Pull these out. Try to straighten that as much as you can. And cut these all to the same length. And you may see some cars have this little black that's in this little connector here. I'm not really sure what that's used for, but we will just, you can pinch these tabs here, push it forward, and remove it as well. Come on. There we go. You can just leave that just like that. Here we got some connectors that I've already finished. This is going to be the US one on the left and European on the right. So with the kit, with the LED kit, you're going to get a little baggie of terminals. They all include all the same terminals just in case. But for the white wire on the European sets, you're going to use the Y splitter and put it on the white wire. Let me show you how to work the crimp tools. I use a pair of Klein strippers. Get them pretty much anywhere. This is just a cheapo crimp tool I got on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. These work really well for these style of crimps. You really want to make sure these crimps are done well to avoid having any shorts in the future or anything like that. If you've never stripped and crimped wires before, this is how you do it. I tend to strip about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 5 or 6 millimeters off the end there. First, want to put the sleeve on. You can tuck it down inside that connector if you need to give yourself a little more room. Make sure there's no frays. Load the terminal into the crimp tool, like so. And then these terminals have double crimps or dual crimps. The back side goes around the jacket, the front goes around the bare wire. So stick these in. I always start on the biggest one first, even though that's not going to be tight enough. It just kind of is better for the terminal. Move to the middle, crimp that down, and then I go to the very smallest one, but I do not crimp this all the way down. I wait till it's like right about there, maybe 2 or 3 clicks, and there's a little tab in there you can release it. So lift up on that, pull that out, give this a little tug, make sure it's not going to come off, and then pull your sleeve back over. And just do that with the rest of them. Alright, we got all the terminals crimped. I just want to explain a couple more things. So the black wire that we talked about earlier is actually for your rear fog light. So every LED tray is equipped with a rear fog light. That's because some countries it's on the left side, some countries on the right side. I've heard some it's even on both sides. So what I've done, you have a couple options. You can run just a single fog light if you want to, or you can use one of the provided Y splitters on the black wire, similarly to how the UK or Euro versions do with the white wire, with the Y splitter. You can run it on the black wire and run dual fogs, should you desire. You don't have to, of course, just another little bonus thing you can do. For European customers, or international, however you want to say it, this white wire that has the Y splitter on it is going to go to both the white and the green. If you have a green wire and a white wire separate, then you'll just plug them in, color to color. All right, here we got everything installed, everything painted. Looking pretty good. With the LEDs all installed. Got our mounting screws going through there on both sides. And keep in mind, when you go to install these, we're not going to use the reflector tray that came with the car. We are going to use these little boomerangs that we supply with each of them. So they fit on right over these mounting holes, just like the original. So 1, 2, 3 on top, and then the 3 on bottom. So just like that. And that's what's going to hold them to the car. So let's go throw them in the car and check them out. All right, looking pretty good. Let's see, we got the orange flashers coming through the red lens. Looking pretty dope.